everybody.
Okay.
Cooper River Brewing Company. We are live here at the Cooper River Brewing Company. Say that 10 times fast. I dare you. We're here in Charleston, and we've got a great crowd of people who've gathered together for our town hall this evening. We just got in today. It's our second event of the day. We were at the College of Charleston earlier, and yeah, very happy to be here. Glad you guys can join us. Come on in. Hi, how are you? It's good to see you. Yes, thank you for your help.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
When did you get back?
Coming like a week ago, 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be
Put
here
you
for
straight to
probably
work.
6 months.
Okay. We'll see.
Excited.
Thank you.
Hi, Tulsi. My name is Randy Gabbard.
Awesome.
I've been volunteering with campaign since the first day.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your help.
I thank you. I want to get a picture with you tomorrow.
Okay.
I hope we'll be out at the Democratic event.
Of course. We'll be there for most of the day.
But I really admire you.
Thank you.
I haven't been volunteering for a campaign in 30 years.
Wow. That's incredible.
So are you. This is the right person that this country needs.
Thank you.
I analogize you to a young John F. Kennedy, who I remember. I'm old enough to remember him.
Well, I'm so grateful for all of your support
That's,
and for your trust.
I think you're the next generation.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow.
All righty. Sounds good. Thank you. I actually know how to reach you. I'll let you give that to somebody else. Hey, how are you guys doing? Tulsi, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Great.
Appreciate it. Hi guys, how are you? Having a good time? Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you, it's great to be here. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. We're loving being here in your town. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, how are you guys doing? Nice to meet you. You've got the lays going on. Feeling the aloha. Love it. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thanks for being here. Yes. Hi. I saw you outside. It's your brother. Nice to meet you. So glad you could come tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. Hello again. Dawn, right? Nice to see you, Dawn. Thank you.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Thank you for
Welcome
being
to
here.
Charleston.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Major, how are you?
Great. Thank you very much for coming. How are you guys doing? Awesome.
I do have a question about the uniform though, and the ads. You done
The
with that?
ads?
Yeah, the political ads and the uniform.
Yeah, no, we follow all the rules that they have set out for us.
I appreciate
Very
it.
careful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really a big military state here.
Yeah. Oh, I went to basic training here.
Really?
I know, Fort
Yeah,
Jackson.
Lovely place. I love it. I know you were
Thank you.
enlisted to start too.
I
so
was.
That's the thing.
I understand. What was your rank?
I was a
You
master
got out.
sergeant.
Of course.
So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi guys. How are you? Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Get a photo.
Sure.
I'm sorry to bother you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi. Good. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. There we go. Both. Thank you for coming. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's awesome to be here. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
What's your name?
Bobby.
Thanks for being here, Bobby. Nice
Yeah,
to
good
meet you.
Yeah. First, I heard you on Rogan probably like 6 months ago and just
Awesome.
love what you say. And just excited to hear what you have to say.
Talking straight.
Yeah. Before we get selfish.
Sure. Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Nice to meet you. Hi. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Can we get a picture?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for coming tonight. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Nice to meet you. Aloha. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I know it's a little warm. It's a little warm. Thank you guys for coming. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to meet you. We'll be able to get some pictures after as well. Really quick, really quick. We're about to get started. I like your hat.
Thank you very
Look
much.
cool.
Try to keep up with you.
How are you? Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here.
Welcome to
How are
Charleston.
you? It's good to be here. Thank you. Thank you very much. How you doing? Good to see you. How are you, sir?
Hi.
Nice to meet you. How are you? Aloha. Are we gonna get started?
Yeah. I don't want them to be distracted while they introduce you since it's a really old
I'm
veteran.
gonna keep shaking hands until they start.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna have some time for meet and greeting after. We're about to get started. Thank you guys so much. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Happy Friday,
Thank you
ladies
so
and
much
gentlemen.
for coming. Thank you. Hi, what's your name? Nice to meet you. How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
My name is Tom
Hi.
Banks.
I saw your dad.
I'm a
You're married to
retired
Joseph,
engineer,
right?
former
Nice to
United
see you guys
States
again.
Marine and
Thank you so
Vietnam
much
veteran.
Coming out to us.
I am an enthusiastic supporter of Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's campaign for the presidency of the United States.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
I first noticed Congresswoman Gabbard in 2015 when a friend mentioned this Hawaiian congresswoman that was shaking up the upper echelons of power in D.C. I began learning about Tulsi, and after I learned all I could from Wikipedia and Google, I made a $100 donation before Tulsi ever declared for president. Best $100 I ever spent.
Thank you, Tom.
Y'all have a thank you weekend.
We'll get one right after. We'll have to get started. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support.
And for running.
Thank you for your service.
You be safe.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Aloha! Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thanks all of you for coming out this evening, giving us such a warm welcome here to your beautiful city of Charleston. I first want to say a couple of thank yous. I don't know, can you guys hear me back there? No? What can we do?
Can we come closer?
We got a little space up here. There's no chair that I can stand on. The chair. I know. Well, I can use a crate if. Anyway. All right. As we're moving, ask you to move forward. Try to get everybody in here. We want to make sure everyone's a part of the conversation. As we're getting situated, can we please give this veteran, Tom, a round of applause and thanks for his service. Semper Fidelis, he says. Any Marines in the house? All right. While we're at it, I want to ask all of our veterans or those who are still currently serving, if you would raise your hand and just let us all give you thanks for your service and your sacrifice. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you're doing for our country, and thank you for taking time to come and be here this evening. It means so much to me personally. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you also to Michael and Jamie, who are the owners here at the Cooper River Brewing Company. Thanks, Michael and Jamie, wherever you are. Awesome, and thanks to your team. Thank you all for taking care of everybody here tonight. Where to begin? I want to begin with Aloha. See a lot of you wearing some leis here. A lot of you greeted me with Aloha.
Aloha, y'all.
Aloha, y'all. You know, my aunt and uncle live in Colombia, and my uncle is my dad's brother. He comes from a Polynesian background, so they've come and visited us in Hawaii over the years, but they've lived here now for almost 40 years. but on their refrigerator at their house is a big Aloha y'all magnet. So I think we got to make up some shirts or something, right? So there's a reason why in Hawaii we greet people with aloha. And it's not because it actually translates to hello. It doesn't. Aloha is something that has a really, really powerful and beautiful meaning. And we greet each other with aloha because it means I come to you with respect. That I come to you with an open heart and with care and with love and a recognition that we are all God's children, that we are all connected, that we are all family, and therefore setting this foundation of unity, inspiring us to overcome the divides and the boundaries that too often divide us and just see each other for who we really are. And to therefore then say, okay, how can we take care of each other? How can we come together and work together towards that better and brighter future that we hope for our loved ones, our family, our kids and their kids and their kids to come. And I like to start our conversations with aloha because of the terribly divided times that we are facing. We see people pitted one against the other, one team against the other, whether it be based on politics, what political party you belong to, race, ethnicity, religion, orientation, all of these different things. Dismissing and forgetting the fact that we stand united as Americans. We stand united, and when we stand united, we are strong, and we can overcome the great challenges that lie before us. And it is this unity that we have, motivated by love for our country and love and care for each other, that makes it possible for us to begin to bring about the kind of systemic change that we need to see to ensure that finally we have a government that is of, by, and for the people. Of, by, and for the people. How many of you, raise your hand, how many of you believe this is the government we have today? How many of you believe this is the government we had a year ago, 5 years ago? It is 5 years ago, some of you. I respectfully, I disagree because I see how election after election, let's put aside the partisan politics, but we see how for so long, even as different political parties take power, whether in Congress or in the White House, there is one constant that remains, and that is the influence we see in our policies that benefit the very few, the very rich, and the very powerful. Bringing us to the point where this is what our government is made of. It is a government of, by, and for the rich and powerful, not a government of, by, and for the people. And we, the people, get left behind as a result. We are dealing with struggles and challenges. People are suffering directly because of this fact, that we have a government of, by, and for the rich and powerful, and the voices of the people are drowned out. We see this manifested through our healthcare policy. Our healthcare policy where you have the crony capitalist influence of big insurance and big pharma. They're seeing their profits skyrocket, continue to rise through the roofs as more and more Americans, even if they may be insured, are underinsured. People who are struggling paycheck to paycheck, worried and fearful that they will have that health care emergency or themselves or a loved one, that they won't ultimately be able to afford to get the quality care that they need when they need it. We see this government of, by, and for the rich and powerful manifesting itself over our energy policy and our environmental policy. How whether we're talking about big fossil fuel corporations or big agriculture, we see the toxins and poisons coming from these industries. Well, we have taxpayer dollars because of our policies that are subsidizing what they are doing, even though they are poisoning our water, even though they are polluting our air, even though they are eroding our soil, making it more difficult for us to be able to maintain this home that we hold dear, making it more difficult for us to ensure the health and well-being of our fellow Americans. It is unacceptable in this country, in the United States of America, that we still have communities all across this country who are being poisoned by the water coming out of their taps. You'd think that this is something that is, relegated to a third world country, but that's not the case. Flint, Michigan has been in the headlines, or they were for a while until the headlines moved to something else, but the families there are still struggling and suffering because of this toxic water that's coming out of their taps. And there are other communities who have not been in the headlines who are facing the same thing. A government of, by, and for the rich and powerful. We can go down the list of issues: criminal justice reform, environmental protections, the lack of affordable housing that we have, this homeless crisis that's inflicting so many people in both urban cities and rural communities all across this country. We look at the major issues that affect us and that impact us every day. We can trace the problem back to the fact that our government is not serving our people. That we have politicians who are more interested in putting the well-being of themselves or their political power or their financial benefits and profits ahead of the interests of the people. And that is why we are gathered here tonight, because that is what has to change. As your president, I will put the well-being of people ahead of the partisan politics. I will put the well-being of our people ahead of profits, making sure that every policy that we shape, every decision that is made is one that is best serving the interests of our people, our country, and our planet. This is the change that we are seeking to bring about. This is the people-powered movement that we are building that is focusing on service above self. Service above self, the values that are at the heart of every single service member, the values that inspire us from this Aloha to take action in whatever way that we can to have a positive impact on others. And when we do this, then we can begin to see the kind of big changes in our policies that will actually help us, that will actually help the people. When we stand united and make sure that our voices are heard through this representative democracy, we can bring about real healthcare reform that makes sure every single American is able to get the quality healthcare they need when they need it, no matter how much or little they have in their pocket. We can bring about the kind of reform to our environmental policy to address climate change and all of the impacts that come from it by making sure our voices are heard and our policies that are put in place are actually protecting us and protecting our planet. We can reform our broken criminal justice system. We can end the failed war on drugs. We can end this corruptive and corrosive cash bail system that rewards the rich and punishes the poor. We can enact the kind of reforms to our prisons and our sentencing laws that will begin to reduce the recidivism rates that we are seeing and actually help people who may need mental health services or people who are facing substance abuse and addiction, stop them from getting caught up in our criminal justice system and actually get them the help that they need. When we stand united, we can bring about the kind of change in every one of these issue areas that ensures our government is serving our people and that we are standing together and working together towards that better and brighter future, providing equality and opportunity and peace for everyone. There is an issue that I want to bring up that you don't hear very many other politicians talking about, which is unfortunate, but is the issue of the cost of war. Who pays the price for war? We do, exactly. Every single one of us. We have our veterans here, those who are currently serving who are here. Yes, we pay the price in a very direct way. We understand and know the terribly high human cost of war. The cost that you sometimes see in the headlines when one of our brothers or sisters in uniform is killed in combat. But what we don't see in the headline every single day is the 22 veterans who take their own lives every single day. What we don't see in the headlines is veterans who are seeking help and unable to get the help that they need, dealing with both visible and invisible wounds. The veterans who come home empowered with experience and a desire to serve and who are moving on and continuing to serve our country in different ways. The cost of war is paid for by every single one of us, whether you've worn the uniform or not. Because our taxpayer dollars for so long have been going to pay for these wasteful regime change wars. And this policy our country has had for so long to be the world's police, to go around the world and pick which authoritarian dictator we want to overthrow next, sending our troops in to do that job, without giving them a very clear objective on how this actually serves the best interests of the American people and our country, and then asking them to stay for an indefinite period of time to nation build after we've gone in and caused such pain and suffering and destruction in the countries where we've waged these wars. This is the cost of war. Since 9/11/2001, we as taxpayers have paid over $6 trillion. Over $6 trillion on waging these counterproductive regime change wars. Not wars that are necessary to ensure our national security, no. Wars of choice that have actually undermined our national security, strengthening terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And now we're in a situation where we've entered a new Cold War. How many of you heard anyone else talking about this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore's talking about it. The reality is that we are in a new Cold War that poses an existential threat to all of us. How is this possible? How many of you were around for the last Cold War? There's a handful of you. There's a good handful of you. You remember what that was like. You remember the duck and cover drills, right? We are seeing ever escalating tensions between the United States and nuclear-armed countries like Russia and China. We are seeing the erosion and destruction of arms treaties, historic arms treaties that were negotiated and passed previously to reduce the numbers of nuclear weapons in the world, to reduce the numbers of missiles in the world, to make us and the world more safe. Well, those treaties, many of them are out the window. There's another one that's expiring, I think, in February of 2021, the New START Treaty, that this administration is not looking like they will do anything to try to extend. So where does that leave us? It leaves us at a point where nuclear strategists are saying we are closer, we as Americans all across this country are closer to the brink of nuclear catastrophe than ever before. Now it's hard, even for someone of my generation, to think, wrap your head around this. What does this actually mean as you go to school or you go to work or you're hanging out with your friends and family on the weekend? What does this mean at a practical level? Last year in Hawaii, we had a huge wake-up call on exactly what that meant. Some of you remember seeing this. It was in the news early on a Saturday morning. People were going about their business. Some people were still sleeping, hanging out at home, heading to the beach with their families, when all of a sudden there was an alert that went out over 1 million cell phones all across our state. This alert started blasting out on radios, on television. And this alert said, incoming missile, seek immediate shelter, this is not a drill. Did you hear me in the back? Seek immediate shelter, this is not a drill. I just want you to stop and think for a minute. What would happen if we got that alert right here, right now? Thinking, missile incoming, seek immediate shelter, this is not a drill. And knowing that you've got roughly 15 minutes to seek immediate shelter or face destruction. How many of you, raise your hand, how many of you know exactly where you would go from here right now within 15 minutes to take shelter from an incoming nuclear missile? You stay right here? Right. 80 miles that way. You ain't gonna get there in 15 minutes. But even that basement is not going to, it might protect it depending on how deep your basement is. But we're talking about a nuclear blast, the fallout that comes afterward, and the nuclear winter that follows after that, that kills everything. So this is the reality. This is what our loved ones went through in Hawaii. This is what our people went through. We had college kids sprinting across their campus. Seek immediate shelter. Where do I go? What building do I go to? What will protect us from this? We had a friend of mine. He has 7 kids. He piled his whole family in the minivan and just started driving to the mountains. Like, hey, let's get to a cave. Maybe there's a cave we can find that'll keep us safe. He took a selfie at that cave and sent me the picture. We had a father who lowered his little girl, about 7 years old, down a manhole, thinking that might be the only place that she would be safe. But the reality is that we face, like you have realized here, is that there is no shelter. There is no shelter, which is the massive hoax that we are living in right now, where our leaders have failed us, escalating these tensions, pushing us closer and closer to the brink of nuclear catastrophe. They set up these fancy warning systems through our civil defense that do what they're supposed to do, saying there's a missile incoming, seek immediate shelter, but then there is no shelter. There is no shelter. I'm running for what happened in Hawaii was had a huge impact on me, as it did everyone there, and played a major role in my deciding to run for president, because I knew that it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. And I knew that I had to do everything I possibly could, not only to make sure that we never had to go through this again in Hawaii, but that none of you, none of your loved ones, none of your kids or grandkids would have to face what we went through in Hawaii. As president, I will end these wasteful regime change wars, make sure we don't start any new ones, immediately call a summit between the United States and Russia and China to begin to end this new Cold War, de-escalate these tensions, and to begin to look at how we can end this arms race. And instead of all the money that we've seen gone towards these wars and this arms race, redirect our taxpayer dollars, our limited resources, towards actually serving the needs of our people right here in our communities. What is at stake is our lives, our homes, our loved ones, and our future. We cannot afford to wait. The threat is too great. Our foreign policy and the person who you choose to serve you as your president and commander-in-chief will have an impact on every single aspect of our lives. I thank all of you for coming here today to hear me out and to consider joining me in this movement, to stand with me as we work to bend this arc of history away from war and towards peace, so that we are truly putting people ahead of profits, ahead of politics, and working together towards that bright future. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I want to make sure that we maximize the time we have together. I'd love to hear what's on your minds, questions, thoughts, insights, concerns. Yes, sir. We'll start with you.
Tulsi, my name is Randy. I've volunteered in your campaign for the last 4 months. I'm on Medicare, and I hit the donut hole in my prescription. I can't afford my prescriptions. I have to ration them. A bottle of insulin costs $600. I don't have that kind of money. What can I expect?
Thank you. Question is from Randy, and he's on Medicare, and because of the donut hole, he can't afford the $62 per vial of insulin. $600. I was going to say $62 sounds a little more. $600 per vial. of insulin that you need, what do? We make sure, first of all, that big insurance and big pharma have no seat at the table as we are forming our healthcare policy. Number two, we make it so that Medicare, so that our U.S. government, Medicare and beyond, can negotiate directly with big pharma to bring these prices down lower. This is something that should have happened a long time ago, right? Why is this law even on the books? The United States government is the largest purchaser of prescription drugs in the world. In the world. So think about how much leverage we would have in a negotiation to drive these prices down for our people. There's a reason why big pharma lobbyists have spent so much money, time, and energy in Washington, influencing politicians to do their bidding and keep this ban, and it is a ban, not allowing Medicare to negotiate these prices, keeping this on the books to serve their interests, to protect their profits, to the detriment of people like you, Randy, and so many others who are facing exactly the same kind of hardship that you are facing, blocked from getting the necessary prescription drugs and medicine that you need. In my administration, this stops. This stops immediately. Now, we'll be releasing a detailed plan soon, but in short, the healthcare plan that I would look to implement as president, I see more as a single-payer plus plan. Medicare for All, unfortunately, is a term that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Under my plan, we would ensure quality health care for every single American automatically. And if you, Randy, if you decided that you wanted to go out, you had a few extra bucks in your pocket and you wanted to go get a private insurance plan on top of that, that's up to you. But we have the opportunity to be able to bring down the cost of health care in this country by getting big insurance and big pharma away from charging exorbitant amounts of money, benefiting their profits on the backs of sick people, and instead ensuring that every single American gets the care that they need. Yes, sir. Do you want to, this only goes this far.
Well, thanks for coming to Charleston.
What's your name?
I'm Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, I follow your campaign a lot. There are a lot of candidates running for office, and they all pretty much say very similar things. But there's one thing very few people aside from you have mentioned, and that's, I call it the 300-pound gorilla, which is the national debt.
Yes.
And my question for you is, actually I have two questions. One, when you get on back on the debate stage, do you think you can try to frame all the progressive issues we have in lieu of the national debt? And two, what do you think of Andrew Young as a VP candidate? And one last thing.
Yes.
At this time in the election process, there's a guy in Iowa who was polling at 2% who ended up becoming president. That was Jimmy Carter, so hang in there.
Thank you. I will be hanging in here. I ain't going anywhere. Thanks to the support of all of you. You are who make this campaign possible. Thank you. I will take your advice under consideration for the debate. I will take your advice under consideration for VP. Andrew and I have gotten to know each other a little bit. If you didn't hear in the back, he's asking if I'll consider Andrew Yang as a VP pick. Andrew and I have gotten to know each other and have become friends over the course of this campaign. I still remember the very first Iowa event that we were at. It was freezing cold, there was snow on the ground, and we walked in, I was like, huh, who's Andrew Yang? Not a lot of people know who Andrew Yang is. Yeah, he crowd surfs, I surf. I'll be surfing waves tomorrow morning. Where, Chris, is that you? Thank you both. Chris sent me. I'm gonna like just pause for a moment on the serious stuff, and Chris sent me a direct message on Instagram. This morning or last night? And yes, I do look at those direct messages. I do look at the comments that you leave. He sent a direct message saying, "Hey, cool, we're gonna see you guys. If you want to go surfing, let me know." I read his message on the plane as we were coming down. I immediately texted him back and I said, "Yes, very interested. Let's see how we can make this happen." So tomorrow morning, actually, Chris told us about a group of veterans who will be going out and going surfing. We'll be joining them where? Folly Beach. Folly Beach. Thank you. Back to the serious stuff. All right. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Just behind you. We'll get to you next.
I have to say, my wife is in Colombia right now. And she was an intelligence officer in the Army, and she wanted me to tell you are a badass.
Oh, that's the biggest compliment, I tell you what. Thank you. Yep.
That's a key contributor to global warming. Is there anything you have planned to maybe incentivize people to maybe cut down on their meat intake and try and help out in that way?
Yeah, thank you. Question is related to our environment and how really it's the meat industry that contributes a lot to the threats that we're facing in our environment now. We saw a lot of attention being drawn to this, especially. This is not an issue that usually comes up, right? People talk about climate change and what do we do about climate change, but that is the 300-pound gorilla in the room. Because it comes down to what kind of choices, different choices, are we willing to make in our own lives to protect the environment, to protect the home that we care about. This was really brought to light around the fires in the Amazon. Why is it? Why are these fires raging? They're burning down what many people call the lungs of the planet. When you look at it, whether it's the fires or the clearing that's taking place there and taking down all those trees, they're clearing and making space for cows and cattle, or for the feed that they're using to feed the animals. Brazil is the #1 beef exporter in the world. So there's a direct correlation, as we've seen there, between the destruction of our environment and the mass consumption of meat in the world. So as far as what do we do on the policy front to be able to make sure we're protecting our planet, that we're informing people about the impacts of these choices and what it does to our planet, also what it does to our health, and then leaving those choices up to you to do as you wish. Right now, our taxpayer dollars, I'm going to take agriculture a step back and just look at the massive multinational agribusiness corporations who benefit most from our agriculture policy and our taxpayer dollars right now. And they are a huge contributor to the threats that we're facing on our planet. Our taxpayer dollars are incentivizing that. So we can change that by shifting our taxpayer dollars away from that and focusing them on those who are pursuing sustainable farming, regenerative agriculture, looking at how we grow food to feed people in this country in a sustainable way that will allow these farmers to continue doing this for generations to come. Making sure that we take away the really massive influence of the meat industry over policy in Washington, even in the FDA, where our funding goes for WIC, for example, free and reduced lunch, what are we feeding our kids in schools? If we really think about a healthcare system truly promoting the health and well-being of people, rather than just putting Band-Aids on sick people, then we can look at how we can have a positive impact and help preventing people from getting sick in the first place, empowering them and giving them the tools and the resources to be able to make better choices for themselves and their kids and their families. And our planet. Thank you. Yes.
I just want to echo this gentleman here. He brought up his first topic was about the debt.
Yes.
It really is a serious issue, and on your stage when you're going to be up there, no one's going to talk about it. I would really like you to address it.
Thank you. Yes, I didn't mean to make light of that.
Yeah, it's a serious
I'm
issue.
going through, I want to talk a little bit about the debates, and then we'll get to how serious. I agree. The seriousness of the national debt and the deficit that we're facing is, we all know, it will cross many, 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 many generations if we continue down the track that we are on, where it continues to be ignored.
A second thing, kind of a nexus of two different topics you talked about, and the environment and the military. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but the biggest polluter in the United States is the military. And I was wondering if there's some way you could work that into the conversation with all the people who are so big on the military, but yet are calling for a Green New Deal, where they don't, maybe they're not even aware of how much pollution is coming from the military.
Yeah, okay, there's a few different issues there. I'm gonna try to get through this quick and get to other questions. First of all, we'll see what happens with the debates. It's 12 people on a stage, a very limited amount of time, and I have no doubt about how much more limiting that time will be for me. So we'll see what I'll be able to do to maximize that time. The national debt is of serious importance. How we pay for things is of serious importance. What we are paying for is of serious importance. This is why I talk so much about where our taxpayer dollars are currently going, how they are being wasted. Yes, through these interventionist regime change war policies, but also as we look at where the waste and abuse is happening within our own government and how we can better make sure every dollar we are spending is effectively serving the interests of our people. The environment and the military, our military is necessary. They serve a very specific function in keeping the American people safe. That's why so many of us raised our hands and chose to enlist in the military, to protect the American people. We can bring down the cost of what we are spending on our military by making sure that we are staying focused on that function and that mission that our military has. Something that a lot of people don't know is that there's a significant amount of dollars within the Department of Defense that have been invested in new innovative technologies on how to provide clean renewable energy, both for the military, but that can be used across the private sector as well. These investments have been going on for quite some time. I've been a big advocate for the military, especially as you look at the battleships and the planes and the tanks and the Humvees. They've made a lot of advances to be able to see how they can run on cleaner fuel. They themselves can get off of the toxic fossil fuels that we've seen for so long. So we've got to be able to make better choices there and make sure that we're investing in that way so we can make the smallest footprint possible wherever we go.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service, first of all.
Thank you.
I'm very interested in politics, hoping to be a politician one day.
What's your name?
And Aaron.
Aaron.
And I was wondering what advice you would have for young people that would want to seek a career in public service, whether in the military or in politics.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. That's a great question. How old are you? 14. Aaron is 14, and he's asking what advice I would give for young people who are looking to be of service either in politics or the military. Great question. I am grateful to have experienced from a young age, maybe I was around your age, that I was always happiest when I was doing things for others, when I was being of service to others. And I knew even then that somehow, some way, I wanted to try to find a way to continue to pursue that path of service with my life. I'm an example of someone that proves you don't have to choose. I'm still serving in the Army National Guard now. I've been there for almost over 16 years, actually. Currently serving as a major. The most important thing, no matter what you decide to do, if you want to get into public service, if you want to run for office yourself, or if you decide to join a military service, is that you remain firmly grounded in that motivation and that desire to serve. Too often in politics, we see people who may have started out with really great intentions, but who get caught up in this political bubble that we see, where politicians end up just focusing on the next re-election and how they can stay in the job for however long, definite period of time, rather than actually thinking with every single decision, every single vote that's cast, how can I best serve? Will this bill, will this vote have a positive impact on the people that I'm serving, or a negative impact? Making those decisions whether or not they're politically popular. So that's my advice to you. Whatever you decide to do, even if you decide to pursue business or healthcare, some other field, you can be a servant leader no matter what you do, no matter where you are. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Joey, and I'm an ACLU Rights for All volunteer. On day one as president, will you commit to rescinding every order related to the Muslim ban? Or will you call it what it is? Not some travel ban, but a Muslim ban that's conflicting with how you are.
Thank you, Joey. How old are you?
16.
Thank you, Joey, for being here. Thank you for your volunteer work. Yes, you have my commitment that I will do that. I have gotten to know people whose families have been directly impacted by this policy and by this ban that the president has put in place. And we've introduced legislation in Congress to put into law that no such ban based on one's religion should ever occur. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi. So I was wondering,
Okay, can you guys just introduce yourselves? Let us know where you go to school.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're both Citadel cadets down the road.
Awesome.
And we're both in Army ROTC.
Lovely. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So my question was, who do you think it is, or what interests are pushing Americans to fight these regime change wars? And as president, how could you negate that or push against that?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. This will have a direct impact on your future.
Yeah.
You have a vested interest here at a very personal level. The forces who have continued to push this over a very long period of time, longer than any of us have been alive, are forces within the military-industrial complex that profits so much. Every time we're in a new regime change war, they're profiting off of this new Cold War, this nuclear arms race. As soon as Trump tore up that INF treaty, he sparked off a call for contracts, billions of dollars worth to build these missiles that were banned in the INF treaty. And it's a foreign policy establishment, people in positions of power and influence in Washington, on both sides of the aisle, who continue to benefit off of this status quo. You can look at a lot of other private sector interests, you know, back in some of the interventions and regime changes our country waged in Central America, for example. It was the corporation called the United Fruit Company that was trying to get our, you know what I'm talking about? You learned about this. That they were the ones who were behind our country's intervention, because the governments in these countries were saying, no, we don't want to buy your fruit. We'll grow our own fruit, thank you very much. We've seen the same thing with oil and fossil fuels. John Bolton, thankfully he's gone, was very clear. You're allowed to clap for that. He's gone, it's okay. That's what I said, finally. But he said on national television, you know, we got to go in and overthrow the government in Venezuela so that our American oil companies can go in there and tap into those resources that really belong to the Venezuelan people. So we see these different interests that are driven by profits and power who have perpetuated these same regime change policies for so long. Now the important part of your question is, so what will I do to change this? What will I do that's different from any other person who has run for president, gotten elected, saying that they would end stupid wars but then failing? Yes. Well, there's a very real difference. Is I know personally the cost and consequence of war. I will not bow to the influence or the interests of the military-industrial complex, the big wigs with the foreign policy establishment, or even the general officers who wear those 4 stars on their shoulder, who may be pushing and prodding for us to go in to wage another regime change war, because I know exactly where my responsibility lies and who I serve. The American people, our brothers and sisters in uniform, our country, working for our future. Thank you very much. Thank you. I know there's a lot more questions. I want to make sure we have some time to say hello personally. If you want to come up and snap a picture, we can do that. I mostly just want to say thank you so much to all of you for making the time to come. Thank you for your support. I need your help to continue this campaign. Whether you can make a contribution of any amount, $1, $5, $20, whatever it is, it goes a long way towards helping to fuel our campaign. If you want to volunteer here, we need help here in South Carolina. We've got our amazing volunteers who have their table set up by the door there. If you can write your name down and say, hey, here's how I want to help. Every single one of you has influence. Family, friends, coworkers, people you go to school with. Every one of you here has the ability to be able to bring more people in to join our movement. I hope you consider doing that. You can visit Tulsi2020.com for more information. Thank you all so much. Aloha! Aloha! All right.
Aloha, everybody. If
you
you
guys
would
come up
like
here
a
first.
picture with Tulsi, please stand on the right-hand side of the bar.
What's your first name?
Ozzy.
Ozzy, nice to meet you.
Colin.
Colin. I'm so glad you guys came. I went to basic training with a guy who went to the Citadel, and he was crazy as shit. Yeah, exactly.
Right here. Can we get a picture?
Yes, yeah, we'll get a picture with these guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Get in here, Ozzy.
You can't let your snacks show.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
No, I got this
There you go. Look sharp, guys. Look sharp.
I'm gonna get one on my camera so she has one.
Oh, okay.
That's for me.
Okay.
All right, all right.
Put on your desk. See if I make it far.
How long till you guys graduate?
2 more years.
Okay. You can do it.
4 days. 638. Shut up. Is it 638? 638.
6:30. I'm glad you're counting.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, and thanks for asking such an important
Thank you so
question.
much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Stay the course. Stay the
All right.
course.
You have a good night.
All righty. You
Fun
too.
night, I
Be
guess.
safe.
Hey, gotta
Thank
get my
you so
picture.
much. Absolutely.
Thank you. Hey, there you go.
1, 2, 3.
Jeez.
Got it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. And you know what? You had your video. I'll make this super quick. The video that you showed the national debt on there.
Yep.
Think about the 25% of the world's GDP.
Yep.
I showed that to a couple of independents.
Yeah.
Bam! It came right over.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Really.
Yeah, no, it's good feedback. We'll continue to push that message.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm good to hear. Just doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Good luck in the debate.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I got him. He has a photo.
Did we get a picture with Tom? Let's get a picture, Tom. We'll get a formal picture. Is that okay? All right.
Oh, okay.
He said your phone's better.
Oh, my phone's better. I'm sorry.
We want to get a good picture.
Yeah.
Over
Oh,
here, Tom.
we'll look over here.
Oh, there's 2.
There you go, Tom. Hey, Tom.
All right, over here now.
Show me some love, Tom. There you go.
Right on.
Great video.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, this is my husband, right? Yeah. He's the best. He's the best. Thank you for your support. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I look forward to continuing to be helpful.
Thank you. We're very grateful for your support. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Keegan Benton. I'm a 13-year-old future voter.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you came, Keegan. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
My name's Burns.
What is it, Burns?
Burns,
Nice
B-U-R-N-S.
to meet you.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you for your
Good luck.
support. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Hi. How are you?
True honor to meet you.
Thank you. What's your name?
Grace.
Grace.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I'm grateful for your support, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I really
much.
do believe in everything that you say.
Thank you. That means so much to me. Thank you.
I'm Grace's mom. I turned her on to you a long time
Good
ago.
job, Mom. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you both for being here. Thanks for everything. Hi. What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming tonight.
1, 2. One more. 1, 2.
Awesome.
Very inspirational.
Thank
Lots
you.
of I'm thinking about a lot.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you. Hey, how are you? Good. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Ellen.
Ellen. Thank you for being here.
I was the South Carolina state coordinator for Gary Johnson and Bill
Oh,
Bell.
yeah.
And I'll be putting as much energy into your
Thank you. We need that help and that experience. It'll go a long way.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
So are you in touch with Shelly here?
No.
Shelly is our main volunteer coordinator, but she doesn't have that experience, so your help would really be tremendous. Perfect. I'm going to tell her to keep an eye out for you, but she should be out there right by the door.
My business
Shelley.
card there.
Thank you.
A number of things. I hope I wasn't too difficult.
No, that was fantastic.
I got to tell you, my dream ticket.
Yeah.
You and Justin Amash.
No, Justin's a friend, actually. We've worked together.
1, 2, 3. Got it.
I think he's thinking about it, or at least he was a while ago.
He's just like he was too good for the Republican Party or too good for the Democratic Party. I've only been a libertarian.
I appreciate you coming. I know. I appreciate it. Bring some more with you. Oh, good. Awesome.
Ready? Would you sign this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Do we have a Sharpie? I think a Sharpie might be a little better for this.
Very possible. Nope.
No.
Maybe.
Oh, here we go. You've got a Sharpie. Can we borrow this? Thank you. You can give those back to her. Thank you very much. Give you this.
I might have taken a million photos of the Florida Star.
Tell me your name one more time. Aaron. Okay. There you go. Thank you. Nice to meet you again. Thanks for your question.
1, 2, 3.
Stick with it.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
I had some questions. I'll try to catch you on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I have one question for you. You need a beer? Just a beer.
You're so nice.
Well, there's a long line.
That's so nice.
Everyone
Thank
wants
you.
something from you.
Thank you. You know what? If they have it, I don't drink, but if they have a non-alcoholic beer, I'm down.
Okay, or if they have
You can
soda
ask.
or water.
Yeah,
like
no, I'm
soda.
good.
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
That's so nice of you to ask, though.
Yeah.